man needs something to aspire to.
Police believe she was after a nearly $2 million life insurance payout.
$2 million. A nice chunk of change, but not worth it. Worth what? The soul, George. My wife is remarkable. Light of my life.
I have been paying for everything forever, and I've decided that it's gonna stop.
Bang, bang.
Take pride in being a man who's important to society.
You're a worthless donkey roasting in the twilight of your life.
I am trying to cultivate a positive headspace until the audition.
Wow. Wow.
I think George is trying to kill me.
You really think George is smart enough to kill you and get away with it?
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Thank you. I really needed that.
Boom, there you go. That was the trailer for Trigger Happy. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. Trigger Happy premieres on all digital platforms on February 25th. And talking to me all about Trigger Happy is the director and also co-writer, Tiffany Kim Stevens, aka TKHS. I think is what I saw on IMDb. Is that the nickname? The initials?
You know what? Funny story. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I used to go by TKHS because back in the day, it was a real hindrance to be a female director. So I didn't want people to know my gender. But times have changed, and now I embrace my full femininity.
I love that. I love that. You know, hey, as fellow Asians, you know, and just how the system is, a lot of us have had to change our names in this business. So I understand and I feel that, but we are getting into better. Well, I would say up until this past year, we're getting into better times, but that's just my feelings. I live in DC, so I'm really feeling it right now, but hopefully we'll see this in better times. So it is a pleasure to chat with you, Tiffany. Thank you for your time. Trigger Happy. Let's dive in where this crazy kernel of an idea happened. I'm a fellow filmmaker myself, and so I always love kind of starting off like, when did that apple hit you in the top of your head like Einstein, and you started putting either fingers to keyboard or pencil to pad?
Well, I will say, you know, having it be my directorial debut in my first film, I wanted to highlight the first people that I had ever met in my life, which were my parents. And I wanted to depict them in a way that gave my dad a feminine voice and my mom a masculine voice. So Annie Decker is actually my dad and George Decker is actually my mom. And I kept it in this really uncanny, satirical, dark world where the audience could still relate and understand to extent, but we are still in a weird parallel universe where I can get absurd and I can really create an insane, wacky, purple world, to say, in terms of like, it's very Democratic and very Republican. And Daniel, who actually is the writer, I wrote the first draft and I brought Daniel on board to really make it what it is today, really was the one who brought in like the oomph and the absurdity and the humor, whereas I came up with the kernel, which was, oh, yeah, it's about my parents.
Interesting. Can I ask you this? I hope you don't take offense to this. I'm a mixed kid. Or at least that's a whole nother story that I've unpacked last year. But I was raised as knowing I was a mixed kid. With that knowledge of you kind of basing on his parents, it leads me to ask you, are your parents mixed like this couple?
Yeah, so my dad is white and my mom is Asian, but I was actually adopted, so I'm fully Asian. But I definitely did grow up with different cultural mixes, my mom being French, Vietnamese, and my dad being American, Northeastern American, old school New York City guy. So it was interesting growing up with that cultural melting pot in Hong Kong, which is also its own like weird identity thing. I have yet to come to terms with my own identity. So this was sort of like a weird way to explore more of the cultural societal dynamics than it was the racial dynamics.
Wow. No, I feel this. Your story is my story, Tiffany. Like, when you just said that, like, because my quote unquote father is white and my mom's Filipina, but whole other sidetrack, I just found out that my actual bloodline father is a whole Filipino guy and I was a sperm donation. And I'm unpacking all this as well right now. So this is crazy. I'm connecting with you on this. This is wild.
That
I
is
see
wild.
this even more now.
Whoa. Wait.
Yeah.
When did you find, is this new information? Did you find this out recently?
I host a Filipino show that's on our on my podcast where we learn about being a mixed kid. And I did a DNA test and that just opened the floodgates. I'm still unpacking all of that as of last year. And it's slowly rolling out and it's finding its way into my interviews because I'm an empath. I share, and this is how I get therapy through this as a fellow creative, you know, and what we do. But awesome. Oh, I'm now feeling even more like, okay, sorry about that. Sorry for the sidetracking, but I think others that are in our same, that are having this same story in life will definitely recognize this. So Tiffany, I got you. I am with you on this. So putting this together with Daniel Moya, your co-writer, and shout out to him who kind of took your kernel and gave us full-blown popcorn. What was like that, putting it together when it started? Give me a little bit about the pre-po, finding this amazing cast, just a wonderful cast, and then getting into production.
Well, all the way in development, Daniel and I met at a coffee shop and we just shot the shit. We were laughing the entire time. We knew we had the same sense of humor and he was on board then. And we just, you know, developed the script from there. We knew that it needed to be absurd and we knew it needed to be intelligent. And we also knew it needed to be obvious for the audience. Like, it's not one of these stories where you have to dig super deep and find the like nuance and the, you know, the profound, deeper meaning. No, it's like, it is what it is. Like, the humor is up front. Like, it's definitely, you don't need to, it is what it is. You don't need to think too much about it. In terms of the cast, we got an amazing casting director named Adrian Stern on board who helped us in the process. And I knew I wanted to, well, at first the conversation was, do we go with comedians or do we go with comedic actors? And given the way that Daniel and I talked about punchlines and moments of, you know, humor and sense that there aren't many punchlines, it's really just characters in really funny situations, we decided to go with comedic actors who also understood drama, but also had a sense of comedic timing. So they could play it straight, they could play it grounded, but the writing in the world is absurdly funny. And that's how the casting kind of came to about in terms of finalizing my decision of like, okay, these are the actors who I know have the comedic chops, but aren't just like, haha, funny guys, you know, they understand the dimensionality and they can play it straight.
Wonderful. And two great leads. If you could speak about your weird couple that are both have issues. They have issues with each other, with themselves, everything. Can you speak on them and the performance they gave within Trigger Happy? Yeah,
Tyler, who plays George, is such an actor and he studies the text in a way that's so meticulous. And I remember the big thing that we did in the audition and also like on set inevitably was his long monologue at the end. And we really broke it down into beats because he wanted to just roll and just do it as like a singular. And I think he did it 3 times in a row in like one take. And we approached it very theatrically in terms of like, okay, let me approach this like I would with a stage play to really get into the nuance of every single line and having the emotional beats within each text. And that was really lovely to work with theater in film, which was such a new experience because, you know, you're so used to like, all right, go, 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 go. You only have this many takes. You don't have the flexibility on the time or the money to be able to just run the tape. But that was a moment that I think we both really, really cherished. And it was like the all-encompassing moment of George's character. He kind of lets it all out. And in terms of working with Elsha, who plays Annie, she is a comedian at heart in the sense that like she really knows physical comedy. Like the way that she can move her face and even in the like little ways that she can like grab a pair of scissors, it's just funny. And she really knows how to like utilize the space around her and her own body to be able to deliver subconscious punchlines and subconscious humor that doesn't necessarily translate to like, and now it's funny, you know what I mean? Like it's all like nuanced, and she is really, really fucking good at that. And I remember even in her audition, the way that her audition was her practicing like vocal warm-ups for the Wow Sponge commercial. Even though she moved close to the camera and then backed away because it was a Zoom audition, was hilarious. So even using like the planes of dimension of the screen, she knew how to move her body and she knew how to move her face. And I couldn't help but just piss my pants laughing. And I knew, oh, this is it. And so to have someone who, like Tyler, is an actor, a thespian, and can do the grounded drama, and to have Elsha, who does use physicality a lot, you have one person that uses voice and tone, and you have another person that uses body. Bringing them together is obviously a really interesting performance for like a micro nuance level, but also it shows they're opposites and they don't get along and they don't correlate, which is who these characters are essentially. So working with them was such a blessing, and they are truly, truly, I wouldn't say their method, because we didn't use any method acting at all, but they really did immerse themselves and they really knew how to switch it on when the camera was rolling.
I love that. I love that. I'm also an actor, filmmaker. I love, because it's truly an art. And now that added layer, as you're saying, with the differences of these characters also in this relationship and all that, to have that and to know that additional nuance is amazing. I love all of that energy. So now we're in production, and this is your directorial debut. What were some of the notes maybe that you shared with them, and just how was that experience now kind of making this transition and, you know, full blown on a feature type project?
Well, aside from the fact that it's a longer process, I think one thing that was added on to, aside from, you know, working with all the departments heads, which was camera, lighting, you know, makeup, hair, costume, production design, is also understanding sales, acquisitions, distribution, because unlike a short, which we all know does not make money and there's no return on that investment except for marketing, we are now in the leagues where you're making something that has the potential to make money and can sell. So having that understanding was new and difficult, and being able to have one foot in the arts and the indie and the creative side, and having the other foot in corporate Hollywood business talk and understanding like how to package this, how to market this, how to sell this, was the new part. Because I'd been directing shorts, music videos for a while, and you do get to be artistic and you do get to work with those department heads and, you know, really hit the ground running with what does this mean, what are the intentions. But now adding in the next dimension of like, how is this going to be packaged in terms of like its genre? What territories is this going to sell at? Who's the audience that's going to want to buy this and it's going to get it? You know, or do we sell this as a thriller? Do we sell this as a comedy? Do we sell this as a satire? What is the market demanding? What distribution platforms and who in acquisitions would relate to this? And, you know, all those questions that you don't necessarily ask when you're making a short or a music video. So that was really the big jump of going from short to feature, is understanding the business side of things.
Yeah, I feel that. For our fellow filmmakers like you and I, so did this challenge push you back, or did it make you rise to the occasion? So like, are you hungry post this? I know you're doing all the press now for this, obviously that's what brings you here with you and I, but how did this challenge take you to where you want to go like now with this?
Yeah, it made me hungry, and I still am hungry, because people forget that as a director, you don't get the privilege to just come in from pre-production to post and that's it. Like that's 50% of the job. The other 50% is selling your art. Well, here's the thing. Okay, sure, I could move to Berlin and make a piece of art and disappear and say it's art for the sake of art. But I'm trying to make a career out of this. Like, art to me isn't just an incredible thing that I have the privilege of just making without, just cause, for the sake of it. maybe one day when I'm a bajillionaire, sure. But right now it's like, yo, how do I make a piece of art and translate it into the commerce? And it makes me hungry in a way that's, yo, how can I problem solve? How can I be a better salesperson? How can I like be able to speak a producer's language? And how can I talk to the people who are going to fund the next one? Because ultimately art is so subjective. And the key is like, okay, if I'm trying to raise, X amount of multi-bajillion, gajillion dollars for the next movie, I can't just say, oh, it's going to be this like beautiful thing where I'm going to make it and use this camera and this actor and like use this color palette. Like that's all well and good, but I'm sure those people are going to be like, yeah, but what's your waterfall structure? Like what's that return on investment going to look like? Because if I'm going to be giving you literally a ship, you got to learn how to captain it,
Woo!
So that's kind of the thing that makes me hungry. It's like you get the opportunity to have a fucking ship and you are the captain, and that's the best part.
Let's go. I'm with you, Captain Tiffany Kim Stevens. Let's go. I love this energy, and because we need more of us like this, because some fall back, and some just, kind of just keep on, sort of. So just, we got to take this energy and keep it moving. And I love it for you, Tiffany. So we're making the film. What were some of the moments while in production that you looked forward to within the script? Were there any specific scenes within this that was a blast or difficulty in putting together in production? There's some wild moments in this, and I got to tell you, the one crazy, well, I don't want to spoil, but there's a scene where a situation happens and she survives. Well, there's many survival scenes, so I apologize. I'm trying to be cryptic, but also not give things away. But
I know which scene you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's just crazy moments. What was it like? Was there any particular one for you?
Well, I think it's every film. I don't want to speak for every film kid. It was my film kid's dream to be able to work with cool, stereotypical Hollywood blockbuster practical effects on a small scale, naturally. So being able to work with blood and blood packets and BB guns that shot blood bullets and being able to use weapons, obviously with an incredible armor team and stunt coordination team, was the shit, man. That's the stuff you dream of. Like being able to actually use the technical practical effects on set was just so fun. And I remember in the early days of pre-pro talking to our makeup artist, Mandy Mossman, who's an incredible prosthetics blood person. She was talking about the different textures of blood and the different viscosities and how like it has to match the actor's skin tone and like how much of it is going to be used and how much of it is oxidized once it's on the ground and all that cool stuff. And that just got me so amped and so excited to be working with, first of all, blood. Not real blood, but movie blood. And then on top of that, being able to work with our arms team and our stunt team to coordinate these three incredible people. So like Chris Dukes was our stunt coordinator and Charles Courier was our armorers. So having Mandy, Charles, and Chris work together to be able to pull off this stunt that came out of my brain was just movie magic. And like that was so cool to just see the actors get rigged, and on top of that, costume having to pre-cut and like blood things up. And it was just, it's cool seeing incredible department heads cross-departmentalize, because that's really what makes a movie. It's like all these incredible filmmakers on their own, standing alone in their own departments, coming together to work on the shot, which is just a dream for any film kid. And one really fun thing was the final scene, which I won't blow, but there's a lot that goes on in terms of blood, guns, camera work. And I remember Shawnee, our DP, she was practicing that final move so many times that like she wanted to get her muscle memory in her shoulder to move the camera rig so that when we went, if she would move it, it would hit fucking off camera. We had a stunt person with a gun shoot as the camera hit, so it was timing. And then we had Sven, our chief lighting technician, do a muzzle flash at the same time, and then have the blood packet pop. So it was like 4 different things going off at once. And then we spent maybe 99% of the time rehearsing, and we ended up doing it in like 3 takes. So that was the most fun, really, on set, working with all the practicals and the technicals. And just honestly, I love VFX. I'm a post person. I've always loved that process. And hey, I know how to VFX, and that's where I shine. But there's just something so old school and magical about doing practical effects on set. And it's like unbeatable.
Agreed. I love that. And as a, again, fellow filmmaker, when you're on a production and you have this cast crew, they become our set family, right? And they're like your other family. And so that preparation, that to me, that's the best part of filmmaking is like you said, all the rehearsal for this moment. And just you're doing all that. And then when you said 3 takes on this, it's just so rewarding. And then when you see the final product, it's just the best. And it's something you'll take forever and you'll drink and have fun and just, man, this was just a blast. I love it. I love it for you. So you're talking to me, you're doing the press on this, Trigger Happy. It's a story about relationships, really, when you put it at the, bottom line it. But it's a dark comedy. What are you telling people about Trigger Happy? How are you selling it to the people? And what do you want the people to know about Trigger Happy?
Well, I want people to know, first and foremost, it's okay to laugh at life. Don't take everything too seriously, because the minute you take things too seriously, you overthink and then you spiral. Just take it as it is. Like, take this movie at face value. It is what it is. And if you want to laugh, fucking laugh. Like, it's okay. Some crazy shit happens that most people probably don't want to laugh at. It's okay to laugh because life is absolutely absurd. And number 2, this is a villain's journey. I think especially Americans need to get out of the idea that everybody on screen, at least our main protagonists, are heroes or anti-heroes. And Hollywood has been feeding that character type for millennia, unlike in the international market where we see different archetypes and different endings and different act structures. This is a villain's journey. Everybody in this movie, except for Kent, is not supposed to be likable at all. This is a cautionary tale. This is a depiction of what happens when you are selfish to the core and you have no frame of community or wanting to help anyone else. And this is the result of what it is. But also, hey, you can laugh, and that's the entertainment factor.
I completely agree. And no matter how good we are, we all have had these thoughts as we see, which I thought was so brilliant in this film as well. Tiffany, I got to give you props that we get to see their thoughts and their energy before, or not things happen. And I love that. It's so very real and it's such a lot of fun. I love dark comedies. So thank you for this, Tiffany. Congrats on the project. Everybody check it out when it drops on all digital platforms on February 25th. Tiffany, please come back again as you work these new projects. I want to see where you're going to build from this. I want to give you your virtual flowers or if I see you in person, man, because again, we're fellow creators, fellow filmmakers. Yeah. It'd be a pleasure to meet you. I think we got the same vibe. And as we started off earlier, you and I are one and the same, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I thank you for just your time sharing about Trigger Happy.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me. Much appreciation and gratitude. We're definitely cut from the same cloth. Yes, we should definitely grab coffee if I'm ever in DC or if you're ever in LA. And thank you. This is great. I had a blast.
Thank you so much, everybody. That's the amazing director, writer, Tiffany Kim Stevens. Check out Trigger Happy, available on all digital platforms on February 25th. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. All right, there's the cut. Rock and roll. Here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Yeah. Nerds rule the world. Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world. Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world, so more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes,
You know
sir.
I'm one
Thank
of
you. Awesome. Kuya P, nerds rule the world. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Oh,
Nerds rule the world.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like Nerds Rule the World. Like, I want more Black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you so much. Nerds do rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nerds rule.
Love it.
It's your boy Kuya P, nerds rule the world. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
Do. They rule the world, all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys.